Hey everyone, Art Burns here, wishing you well today. So, if we want to control and reduce the stress in our bodies, the first thing that we need to do is to bring awareness to the stress in our bodies. And then, beyond the awareness of the actual stress in our bodies, to bring awareness to those thoughts and emotions that are going to cause the stress in our bodies. The sooner in the process that we can identify the stress that's brewing, the more easily we can sort of, do things to avoid the actual stress response in our body. So to know that you're actually already triggered in your stress response, right? There's a couple of very common physical attributes to the stress response. Now everybody's going to interpret these things or manifest these things a little bit differently, but the commonality is certainly the increased heart rate, right? The raised heart rate and the increased speed of your respiratory system, right? So when you find yourself breathing very shallow, or you find yourself with a fluttering heart, another very common one is that during the stress response our digestive system shuts down. So you're going to tend to feel something in your gut as well, a little bit of queasiness, a little just discomfort in your gut. Those are very clear signs that you've been triggered, that you already are in the stress response. But as I said, the earlier you can bring awareness to the earlier you can know that the response is sort of brewing, the easier you're going to have it, the easier time you're going to have avoiding the stress response. And a lot of times, once the stress response has already happened, the only thing you can do at that point is to remove yourself from whatever's triggering the stress response and try to calm down. And a lot of times that's not very convenient. A lot of times that's not even possible to do. Certainly if you're home with kids and stuff like that, it becomes very, very difficult to do that. So that's why it's really, really helpful to bring awareness to the sort of conditions that might be brewing to cause the stress response before you're actually in the stress response, right? Now, the stress response is always, always, always caused by a sense of fear, right? Whether it's a fear-based thought or a fear-based emotion, right? It's always going to be the case, right? The stress response never happens if there's no fear involved, right? And so the best thing to do is to really gain an awareness of the sensations that are involved with the emotions of fear, right? And the emotions themselves, and the thoughts that might be associated with fear. And so what we can do is we can practice bringing awareness to, just like what I said, the sensations of our body, the emotions that cause those sensations, and the thoughts that often inspire the emotions which cause the sensations. And this is how it kind of works as a cycle, right? And so the best way to learn how to cultivate this level of awareness, okay? In fact, the only way that you can really do it is to practice it, right? And to just spend time really just paying attention to the sensations of your body, the emotions that are going through your body, and the thoughts that are processing as you're going through all this as well, right? The thoughts that are involved with it. Okay. Now, yes, there are formal meditations that you can do that will help you to develop this awareness, and they're very, very helpful. In fact, essential. I fully recommend that you try to learn some of these meditations. I'd be happy to teach you. Learn some of these and do them, right? That's definitely helpful. However, it's not just the formal meditations that can get you there, right? In fact, if you don't know how to meditate, you're not comfortable doing meditation, you don't have the time, or you feel like you don't have the time to do meditation, then you can do this very much informally. While you're having your coffee in the morning, while you're out for a walk, while you're driving to the store. Yes, it's going to be hard if you have kids around, and your attention is demanded by others and situations and stuff. That's going to be challenging, right? But in the little moments that you find yourself alone, and a lot of times it's the most mundane times of your day, right? While you're folding laundry, nobody wants to be around you while you're folding laundry, or washing dishes. When it's time to wash the dishes in my house, everybody scatters, right? Or as I said, when you're driving to the store, or you're on your way to work, or when we get back to the office, when you're walking from your office to like the printer or to the washroom or to the kitchen, you can take, stock in these three kind of, areas of your experience, right? Again, it's the sensations of your body, it's the emotions that are in your body, and then it's the thoughts that are in your body. And then there's a fourth sort of pillar that we talk about in this work, right? And this is the sort of patterns and tendencies and predispositions that kind of apply themselves, sort of govern, almost like your programming, right? Every one of us has a certain sort of program that we filter everything we experience through, so you can also bring, awareness to that, right? But start with the first three. It's much easier, right? And as I said, it's very, very simple. While you're, having a cup of coffee in the morning, for instance, just sit, and as you're allowing your coffee to, like, do its thing, and before guzzling it down and stuff, just kind of sense into your body, and just notice any sensations you find. Now the key is that this work is much more about asking the questions than whatever the answers might happen to be. Okay, it's much more about getting, building a skill, and becoming adept at looking for the sensations, right? And the same applies for the emotions and the thoughts. So what you want to do is, as you're sitting there, just letting your coffee kind of cool down before you start drinking it, just take a moment and just feel inside your body. You don't have to do it methodically. Some people prefer to go, start with the top of the head and end with the toes, but other people, prefer to just sort of poke around, almost like you're walking through a house, right? And sticking your head into the different rooms and just checking in with yourself. So check in with your facial muscles, check in with your shoulders and your neck, check in with your chest, check in with your tummy, and just check in and see what sensations you might find there. And then when it's time for the emotions, just kind of name in your head, just name the emotions you might be feeling, right? Maybe you're feeling excitement and optimism and joy and what have you. Or maybe you're feeling, discouragement, maybe fear, maybe anger, maybe shame, maybe grief. These are very common these days, especially during all this, isolation that we're doing, right? And again, those are the ones that you want to, once you can identify those emotions, that's when you know that your body is probably feeling stress as well, Now, again, the best thing to do is to identify, once you call attention to these things, and you'll find this too, like once you call attention to a sensation in your body, right? A sensation in your body is just your body crying out for attention, right? And when you give it that attention, even if it's a great amount of pain, ordinarily or most of the time, you will find that pain starts to release a little bit. And if it doesn't actually go away, you'll find that it's not just this constant, big pain that you're feeling, but in fact, there's an ebb and a flow to it. And then you can start to pay attention to the spaces in between the ebb and the flow, and the waves of the pain that might be, you might be experiencing in a certain part of your body, and the same goes through, the same holds true for your emotions, right? If you pay attention to the emotions that you're feeling, generally speaking, they will diminish, right? And now the thoughts, right? It's the same process, right? Just if you've never done this, it's fascinating. First, it can be quite scary, right? But it becomes very, very fascinating and enormously liberating if you can simply close your eyes and just sort of watch the thoughts come through your mind. Again, just like the sensations, just like the emotions, you'll soon understand that your thoughts are not just this one constant thing that happens. There's actually made up of many little thoughts, right? And as you're paying attention to them, you can start to see like where one thought ends and another one begins. Again, don't think about getting it right. Don't think about the answer right up front. Think about just asking the question. Become better at asking the question. Become better at just looking. Don't worry about the results. Those will come, I promise. But once you can start, after a couple of tries of this, you're going to start to see that, as I said, where one thought ends and another begins. And then like the pain feeling or the emotions or whatever else, you can start to look at the space in between the thoughts. And that's where things get really magical. And that's where you feel just this expansiveness of your time, your energy, and just the ability to really, really see what's happening inside of you. Once you do this, my friends, stress has very, very little chance of overcoming you. I promise you that. So if you'd like to talk a little bit more about this, if you want to know more about some of these exercises, how you can do them, I know I've just sort of briefly reviewed them here. It's a little more complex than I'm making it out to be, but at the same time, it is very, very simple. Maybe it's not more complex, but maybe it's a little bit more difficult. And this just requires effort and commitment to doing it. And just like anything else you've ever learned to do, you will get better at it, okay? Just like riding a bike, just like feeding yourself when you were a baby, all these things that you never knew how to do until you started doing it over and over and over again. So if you'd like some help getting that set up for yourself, just hit me up with a comment or send me a direct message. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about this and see what we can figure out. Thanks for listening. I wish you well, everyone, and I'll talk to you soon.